Again, and welcome to the next session of the 2024 Robotics Application Conference presented by Corber. This is Tim Culverhouse again, Editorial Director of Robotics 24/7, and I'll serve as the moderator of our next conference session, and that's in our mobile robots track. Now, this presentation is titled Rise of the Robots, Driving Safety and Adoption with Multi-Agent Orchestration. And before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this session, and that's GreyOrange and Cypher Robotics. Also, for our audience, before we start, let's go over some housekeeping. If the slides accompanying today's discussion aren't advancing, please hit the F5 key to refresh your browser window. Viewers who would like to download a PDF of today's presentation and other supporting documents from our sponsors, GreyOrange and Cypher Robotics, can do so by clicking on the blue paperclip resources box that you can find at the bottom of your browser. You can also access these resources on the mobile robot session page on the RAC homepage. Now, if you're still experiencing any other technical difficulties with today's program, please click the orange question mark box at the bottom of your console for further help and instructions. Warehouses are adopting automation at an unprecedented pace as the applications for mobile robots increase and evolve. Now, the problem is not that there aren't enough robots to take over the myriad of functions needed on the floor, it's getting them all to work together as part of a single system. Now, to speak about these issues and highlight years of successful designs and mobile robot integrations, I'd like to introduce our speakers for today's program. Akash Gupta is the CEO and co-founder of GreyOrange, and Peter King is co-founder of Cipher Robotics. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for joining me as part of RAC 24 and discussing these issues in the world of mobile robots. And Akash, it's over to you.
Thanks, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here. Talking a little bit about GreyOrange, just giving a quick kind of introduction. We are basically, a supply chain software company who's kind of working towards automation of warehouses using multiple kind of robotic technologies, and also kind of playing a critical role in helping stores to become omni-channel from inventory management and execution, perspective. Going a little deeper on this, the problems that we are solving today, of course, I think the online, offline commerce all coming together in omni-channel demand is that something which is top of our priority today, helping a lot of customers build efficient omni-channel networks using automation and software and AI is something that we have been spending a lot of time on. Second part of the problem statement that we have been solving for is inventory complexity. Of course, I think with omnichannel, there is retail, e-commerce, and likes of that. And also there's a combination of eaches, cases, pallets. How do you kind of bring all of this together is again something that GreyMatter, our I would say automation first warehouse execution system handles very well. We have been kind of working through different space constraints, kind of making sure that robotic systems can grow vertically and kind of use the right height of the systems while still maintaining the agility and the cost of fulfillment and likes of that. And lastly, of course, I think labor retention is something that is a pretty much challenge across US, Europe, and some of the other countries. And kind of we are helping our customers to make labor a lot more efficient and kind of a lot more, flexible and likes of that to ensure that when peak comes, we are able to deliver our numbers and to the customers. So those are kind of core problems that we have been solving. How we have been solving them is through kind of these core three things. Of course, starting with GreyMatter. GreyMatter is pretty much a automation first warehouse execution system capable of automating, I would say end to end of the warehouse. We support 10 to 15 different robotic technologies on our platform that and GreyMatter is kind of agnostic to any of these robotic technologies that you can deploy in any of the processes of the warehouse. The second part of the solution is what we call a certified ranger network. It's basically a group of robotic technologies that are kind of seamlessly integrated with GreyMatter. But as a part of certification, we also certify them for reliability, safety, and security. So all of these technologies can be used end-to-end with GreyMatter for a solution within warehouses or micro-fulfillment centers or likes of that. The third part of the platform is our software layer called GStore, which is Similarly, end-to-end orchestration within four walls of the stores, right? Starting with inventory management, store operations, omni-channel execution, customer experience, basically kind of bringing all of that together. Um, if you put all of this together, basically, we are kind of building this integrated omni-channel orchestration, platform that can, using gray matter and cheese store, orchestrate all of it and use ours or third-party robotic technologies, different kind of sensing technologies like RFID in store to kind of execute end-to-end orchestration within all different inventory nodes of your omni-channel network. Um, and that's basically kind of where the topic for today comes in around multi-agent orchestration as you try and bring in different robotic technologies in one or multiple warehouse. There's a very important aspect of a software layer that can bring all of it together and make sure that the kind of agent uptime or robotic uptime gets converted into fulfillment outcomes, right? And you really get better cost per units and better SLAs and throughputs. And that's where we are kind of collaborating with different type of robotic technologies like Cipher, you're gonna kind of hear about. And the power of Gray Matter's multi-agent orchestration is to support vendor agnostic, or orchestration of multiple AMRs or robotic arms or drones and likes of that. Now, with all of that, what's the impact been? I think some of the metrics that we track with our customers, reducing the cost per unit by upwards of 40%, somewhere even 60-65%. Making sure that our customers are able to fulfill their orders with a strict SLA. Global average for our platform is 99.9%, and then of course, kind of ensuring that we gain the productivity of in the warehouse by 2 to kind of 4x. And it's all about making sure that multiple technologies can come together and kind of work in harmony to make sure that these numbers are achieved every single day and not just one day. So that's kind of what GreyOrange have been kind of focused on. Before I kind of turn the mic over to Cipher team here, we have been kind of bringing Cipher as a part of our certified ranger network, where we are bringing kind of their technology to power a lot of auditing use cases, for us, as of course data is one of the very important part of making sure that real-time orchestration can happen effectively. Over to you, Pete, on Cipher side.
Thanks so much, Akash. So my name is Peter King, co-founder and CEO here at Cipher Robotics. For those that aren't aware of who Cipher is, I'm quite proud of the stuff that we're accomplishing at the moment, because we were actually built out of a need, and I think this conversation fits us quite well. So the first 10 years of my career I spent in the supply chain and logistics industry, and then moved into robotics for the next 15, maybe dating myself a little bit here, but Cipher Robotics is kind of a marriage between those two realms. So our goal is obviously to attack inventory cycle counting autonomously, solving a number of challenges. And so the longer story about us is we were approached by a large entity here in Canada to help them solve a really challenging problem. And after taking a close look, we think we've hit the nail on the head as far as the technology is concerned. So our goal is, and our main product that we've been working on since 2021 is a AMR/drone combination product. And that product works harmoniously together to autonomously go up and down aisles counting inventory. The product we call Cactus is shown in the photo there. And what makes us unique is our ability to trundle up and down aisles for up to 5 hours, collecting data, unlike some traditional methods today. So challenging, or solving some challenging problems that clients are experiencing with hiring appropriate staff members, keeping them happy, collecting enough data in the inventory to reduce shrinkage. And so this year, we finally were confident enough in the product to take it to market. So we launched formally in March. And by doing so, we're now gaining a lot of traction and realizing just how big this marketplace is. But the robot that you see there is called Captus. It's a vision-based or RFID capture device. We do run on a RAC model, so a service model, to make things a little bit easier for our clients. One of the things that I'm really proud about in our team is that there's no infrastructure required on our client's part by bringing our device in, and we're pretty flexible and easy. And so one of our strongest partnerships is with the GreyOrange team and the Grey Matter platform, and we're pretty excited about some of the things that they bring to the table for us as well. So most of the clients that we're currently dealing with, so the who's interested, basically anybody with inventory. I would say the majority of our clients are in the retail sector, but 3PL and healthcare are two major industries for us as well. Anybody holding inventory, we're discovering just how big this problem is. And so the goal is to bring safer operations here. To give you a bit of an overview as to some of the challenges that we are solving with the robot, this is a use case from one of our clients. So little case study. We are currently deploying within a facility, and we're anticipating that we are going to eliminate 250,000 man hours per year. Now, that is a big statement for an organization that's not looking to replace people. Rather, we're looking to shift those 250,000 man hours into another piece of the business. And so there's a very long conversation around robots replacing workers. And in this case, we're actually looking to shift those hours into more productive areas of the business and help this current client actually keep employees in the facilities as well. One of the things that we're really proud of is that we're able to reduce their canceled orders of out of stock, equating to $7.5 million in additional revenue every year. So what does that mean? That means that this client is actually keeping track of their inventory much better and has a much better understanding as to what's actually in their inventory, so they can push more regular in-stock items, allowing clients to make quicker decisions or actually receive product in a timely manner, eliminating reduced overages or canceled orders as well. We're reducing the discontinued inventory by 12%. So another 1.2 million in overall sales for this client. And we think that that's a big deal by allowing them to push discontinued product and make sure that they understand, what areas of their business they need to focus on to get that to eliminate that inventory as well. One of the things that you'll see on our roadmap is the ability to provide fulfillment services for unused space. So understanding how much space is in your warehouse to allow other organizations access should you have it. Understanding what your utilization rates are, allowing you to understand what inventory looks like at each of your facilities to make sure that you're managing appropriately. And so for this one client specifically, we can see that there's a huge need in this industry. And so we're quite proud of the problem that we're solving. So we talked a little bit about some of these, but total operational impacts, obviously our goal is to increase margins, create efficiencies, but especially for this discussion, we are looking to increase the safety of a facility. So one of the things that we're most proud of is that we run after hours in the majority of our clients, increasing the safety, allowing current workers to stay off of the equipment and not have to worry about working at heights or the mistakes that come in a facility with a really busy facility that can have some of these incidents throughout the day. So I think we can talk a little bit more about that during this discussion today, but definitely think that we're solving a big problem, and we're very happy to be here with our partners in GreyOrange today. So back to you, Tim.
Peter and Akash, thank you so much for walking through some of the orchestration elements with mobile robots throughout the warehouses that you guys are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And it's nice to have the the vendor and the customer perspective here as part of today's conversation to get the different perspectives from everybody involved in these robotic deployments, and especially in the mobile robot sense. And now let's kind of go through a little bit of a Q&A with you guys in terms of how we're exploring the mobile robots and what they're doing across warehouses. And Peter, this is a point that you just touched on, and I want to throw it out to both of you first, and maybe we can go Akash leading off here. But you mentioned safety. When you're developing plans for an organization in the warehouse, how are you identifying and creating a safe environment with the people that are moving around with these machines that are moving around the warehouse at the same time? So Akash, why don't you lead us off from the GreyOrange perspective there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think safety is pretty much the paramount metric that you would want to track in the warehouse. I think safety always comes first, then productivity and likes of that. And from the safety perspective, today I would say the whole robotic community is much more aware, right? There are aspects around QL, there are aspects around RIA 15.08. These are all kind of newer standards that apply to different kind of robotic technologies. And one thing that I think we have been very, very focused on is that while kind of robotic technology providers are focusing on the safety as a particular unit, Grey Matter, given we are doing end-to-end orchestration, we look at safety at the system level, right? That when one robotic agent interacts with a person at a work cell, right? How does that how do we make sure that that is on the safer environment? When we integrate with different robotic agents, we make sure that there are kind of safety protocols that are getting followed, and we make sure that the end-to-end system is safe from all perspectives. So I think that's how we have been kind of thinking about this.
I'll jump in there for a minute, Tim. So I think, beyond the traditional, what kind of sensors are on robots, keeping things safe in the environment, I think if I take a look at a holistic approach about the robotics industry, I think there's actually three prongs that go into to play when you talk safety in a warehouse. And so the first thing that we took a look at, especially as we were looking to launch, I think the first thing every robotics organization is looking for is, do we already make the environment safer? So we have the ability here at Cipher to run overnight when there's nobody in the facility, right? So automatically being able to do that takes people off of reach trucks that they're currently cycle counting with today. It allows people to focus on other avenues. So we're not concerned with putting people in dangerous areas. Now, that's not always the case. Many facilities are 24 hours. So the second approach that we all need to take in the industry is looking at what are the standard operating procedures, right? So what is that facility currently operating? They could be utilizing autonomous forklifts. They could be using autonomous AMRs, standard forklifts. They could be using reach trucks, and a myriad of other equipment that come from loading bays, loading docks, that sort of thing. And so truly understanding how that facility operates and creating a standard operating procedure around how we fit into that picture is paramount as well. I think it's one thing that GreyOrange and their platform does exceptionally well, especially when you're orchestrating a number of pieces of equipment at the same time. Having the ability to see everything in action at once is paramount to success. So then it comes down to things like who takes precedence, right? So, if an AMR and a forklift are coming to a facility or a facility's corner at the same time, how does it interact in and around those humans? And so there's a detailed process that we would go through that I think every robotics company would go through to make sure that those standard operating procedures ensure everybody's safety. Then the third and the last thing we do is obviously making sure that the robots themselves are as safe as possible, right? So including the right safety rated sensors, including the right certifications required, making sure that you're utilizing reputable equipment. You've done your tests for mean time to failure. You understand what your product is going to do in every environment. So I think when you combine those three things, we actually uncover that the robotics industry has the potential to keep employees much safer than they have been in the past. It just takes a little bit of work to get there. And each facility, like I said, each facility is going to be a little bit unique that way.
You mentioned some of the metrics and things that you're looking out for from the safety perspective. I'm wondering if each of you could provide maybe a couple potential data points that you're looking for from the GreyOrange side, Akash. When you're looking to deploy gray matter, what sort of data do you need to adjust the system and create that safe environment? And then the follow-up for you, Peter, you have the physical hardware in the warehouse. What sort of data do you need as well to continue refining the safety elements for the deployments of these systems? So Akash, why don't you lead us off again?
Yeah, I think to start with, what you need is a pretty good digital twin of the warehouse, right? So that you can map the static obstacles correctly and likes of that. I think most of the times what we would do is kind of go aggressive and kind of make the system as safe, as safe as possible. And then that might have slight impact on the throughput and slowly optimize it. But the first thing is to kind of make sure that you have like a digital twin of the warehouse to kind of map all of that, right? And then secondly, it's also important to map very clearly what are the interactions between human and robotic agents, right? Because that's again a very, very critical point, for safety. And then, make sure once you understand that, you have a very good understanding of the interaction and how we are, I would say, making sure with certain set of sensors that interaction is going to be safe, right? So I think having the digital twin of the warehouse and then having a deeper understanding of any interaction that is happening between different robotic agents and people and robotic agents. I think having that understanding and then data point is critical to kind of make sure that overall system is safe.
From our side, Tim, I think it's a lot of collaboration with our clients, right? So there's a number, we find every client is completely different. And so making sure that we kind of customize how we approach each and every facility to work around their needs is the biggest safety mitigation factor we would put forward. So, can we run the robot at night when there's nobody there? If there are people there, what hours should we be operating through? When's the busiest time of day for them? How are we communicating with our robot? So is it in constant communication with somebody that's monitoring the system? Is it providing good, strong feedback to both the manufacturer and the client as far as where it is, how it's going there? Is there somebody checking in on it to make sure that it's not going into a region that is where all of the attention is focused on, at certain times of day? So, those are some of the things that we would put together first, and then go through, what other automation do they have? How is that impacted by what we're doing? So, our hope as an organization, and I think every robotics organization would say the same, is, we don't want to come in and disrupt the current flow. So it's really on us to make sure that we understand what that flow looks like, and create a good, strong plan with our clients as to how do we operate most efficiently and, keep it extremely safe as well.
Next couple of questions outside of the safety side of things. You both touched on scalability and peak times and cycle counting. And, these next couple ones, I'm going to really kind of boil down on that. So Peter, why don't I start with you first on this one in terms of scaling the fleet of Captus robots in there. How are you guys working with your customers to ensure that when peak times, whether it's retail and Black Friday or a warehouse with a logistics space in that segment too, that you're implementing more hardware into the system and that they're working properly with the other robots that are already in place?
Well, from our side, Tim, I think it's just a lot of data collection, right? So first thing is to find out what are our clients' needs? And I would tell you that in the majority of the cases in our clients' needs, we are underutilized in their facility. And what that means is, during normal operations, a lot of organizations might end up doing one cycle count every, say, 90 days. When I say one cycle count, I mean a full cycle count of their entire facility. Well, if our capabilities are that we can do their cycle count every month, they just don't require it, then come these peak seasons, we can turn up the volume a little bit. But the best part about robotics in general is that there tends to be quite a bit of data there, right? So, coming into peak seasons and working with your clients to understand what types of increased volume, how much of an impact would new equipment have, software, what is the training time to get everybody up and running with new equipment, and having the foresight to plan ahead really ensures a lot of success when it comes to scale. It sounds like a challenge, but I can tell you it's much easier than trying to hire temporary workers, for, that 1 month a year that know that they're not staying very long and are being trained by your top employees that, carry that burden, that sort of thing, each and every day. So, especially as time goes on and clients stick with us, or clients stick in the robotics industry a little bit longer, you tend to build up that data as well. And it's that collaborative approach that allows us and the client to understand what do those peaks and valleys look like, so that we can ensure success within lots of time before deployment happens in those top peak seasons.
And how about from the GreyOrange side of things, Akash, with that scalability?
From GreyOrange, GreyMatter side, couple of things. Firstly, I think we've built a fairly strong emulation capability. So, the first, thought process is always, okay, peak is coming, here is the data. Why don't we make sure that we emulate it and ensure that we get a pretty good understanding of how the behavior is going to be? And I think today we've built emulation capability to kind of emulate different types of robotic technologies, to kind of emulate end-to-end on the warehouse. That is one. Second is, I think we've also done a lot of work around being able to add different type of robotic agents in real time, right? Like there are so many sites today who are running on, for example, RAC 2%, and as they are running, we are adding tote 2% to them. Or as they are running, we are every day inducting 20 more robotic agents in them. Or, for example, their forward area is automated, and we are automating the deep storage while kind of forward area is running. So a lot of work that we have also done to kind of manage for the peak is being able to kind of in real time add different type of capabilities, capacities, and process, so that you can prepare for the peak without getting any kind of downtime. And of course, I think as I said, emulating the peak load and knowing the behavior is of course very, very valuable, because it gives you a lot of visibility into the bottlenecks that you can solve proactively rather than solving it at the very end.
Peter, on the Cipher side of things, what are you guys looking to do to improve your cycle counting during peak times? I know we're using peak as an example here just because, again, I guess I'm looking toward the end of the calendar year here and getting ready for the holiday season. But, as Cipher continues to, expand and grow, but what are you guys doing? And then the follow-up to that is, how does that play a role in the deployment of the system as an overarching hardware integration to a warehouse?
So I can answer the hardware integration into a warehouse first. I think robotics companies are getting a lot smarter with this as we see a lot more automation, and that is everybody's looking to be a little bit more infrastructureless, right? So the ability to just come in and drop down new equipment and gear and the hardware required, through cloud services, through other software platforms as well. Managing that hardware makes life a lot easier. And so for us, one of the big services that we don't or haven't advertised nearly enough yet is the ability to precision scan and create digital twins in an environment. And see a customer's environment digitally and actually plan for that ahead of time. This is something that you're finding a lot of organizations doing today. So, as we plan for peak season, Akash even mentioned their emulation system. So we can start planning ahead of time to say, hey, what does it look like when we add 30% more employees in the warehouse? How does that impact the hardware that's rolling around? Should we be running it at different times? If we have to increase the number of hardware devices in our system, we can utilize that digital twin precision scan software to then train the device ahead of time and create that setup, allowing us to not worry about infrastructure changes to our clients, right? Making these things as easy as possible. So the ability to bring in hardware is becoming quite a bit easier through the deployment of a lot of this software technology and the ability to have these tools that weren't previously there. So that really helps us ramp up and ramp down for a lot of these peak seasons. And then again, the ability for us to understand how much of a facility is truly necessary to a client, how much cycle counting do they need in any given amount of time. Do we need to ramp that up for busy season because shrinkage becomes higher or lower through some of these times, right? So it's quite open-ended for us as far as how we can manage some of that.
And on the gray matter side of things, Akash, for peak times and cycle counting, now you're getting an influx of data, higher amounts of data, just because there are higher orders going through. What are you guys doing to help sift through that data and paint a clearer picture for the warehouse managers that are following everything that's going on in their locations?
Yeah, I think, I would say automated cycle counting is very, very powerful in some of these seasons or peak seasons, because at the end of the day, it kind of starts acting as loop closing, because we are seeing exceptions happening during kind of order processing and picking and packing and things like that, right? And we have a pretty good understanding of which SKU or which set of SKUs or which area of the warehouse or which kind of set of shelves are we seeing most of the exceptions for, right? And now with automated cycle counting, you can pretty much start closing the loop that, I think we need emergent cycle counting of this shelf because, in last 8 hours, we have seen most exceptions, from SKUs coming from this shelf and likes of that, right? A lot of these deep storage to forward area tasks are getting, delayed because people are not finding the inventory at this place. So I think automated cycle counting really kind of makes sure that things are a lot more closed loop and hence a lot more reliable in terms of, execution. So instead of, I would say, just going and trying and, cycle count the whole warehouse, now, having a much better understanding of picking tasks and likes of that, you can really intelligently kind of get a much lesser exception scenario because you are able to kind of close that loop with, with the technology like, like this. So that's pretty valuable to kind of optimize things in the peak season when you already have every single resource is crammed, right? And if you can really target the execution in a certain way, that really makes a difference.
I think we've got time for one more question in this session, and I'll open it up to both of you, and Akash, you can lead off, but it's kind of a broad one, but what are some challenges that our audience can anticipate when they're looking to implement either an orchestration system, from the GreyOrange side of thing, like a gray matter, that they can kind of anticipate challenges ahead of time? Is it going to be integration with other hardware and software systems in the mix already? The layout of the warehouse. So what are some challenges that people can anticipate ahead of time?
Yeah, I think for us, two core challenges every time. One is data, right? How good your catalog data is, how good your master data is, because as soon as you kind of get into robotics, you're taking a lot more intelligent decisions. But again, if the base data is not very accurate, then kind of you can lead to kind of suboptimal results and likes of that. And second thing is pure change management, right? As people are going from manual systems to robotic systems, if you're going to try and run a robotic warehouse the same way you were running a manual warehouse, you're going to get a lot more suboptimal outcomes, right? So I think the whole change management process of how to think about a more automated, robotic, flexible warehouse, right? How do you basically change your kind of, how do we prep for the shift? How do you allocate resources and likes of that, right? How do you track progress? How do you track things, right? All that, I think change management becomes one of the most core pieces of, I would say, going from a manual warehouse or even a traditional kind of automated warehouse, which have been more pick to light plus, sorters, to a more kind of real-time robotic warehouse where you have capabilities like real-time cycle counting or real-time, forward area picking and real-time waving. You're trying to kind of do omni-channel where retail and e-commerce is kind of being picked seamlessly. All of that kind of brings a very important aspect of change management in the warehouse. So data and change management is pretty much, I would say, top of the challenges. And if we get this right in the, I would say, first 6 months, 3 months of prep and 3 months of ramp up in a warehouse, you would see pretty good results for yourself.
And how about on the Cipher side, Peter?
I would liken the same, Tim, is change management. I think Akash hit that right on the head. There are now many automation choices out there to choose from. And so starting from, where our clients would say to us, where do you start from? Where do you implement? And in our world, the supply chain, industry hasn't always been the most technologically advanced industry. And I think we're starting to see a big shift into that. So, and end on a little story is that we launched at a big conference in March, and I was quite surprised. I was talking to a big coffee player in the industry that everybody knows, and I was really surprised to hear they do all of their inventory counting today on pen and paper. So, imagine multiple facilities that are almost 1 million square feet each throughout the US. And, it can seem like a daunting task to go from, having an army of employees with manual pen and paper, manually typing into, an old school WMS system that, is rated for that type of software, to then say, hey, why don't we bring in a robot and allow you to get, quick access to this data and do this in a timely manner. So although the ROI is quite easy to explain, and it's easy to discuss how clients should be making this shift, actually taking the time and effort sometimes while focusing on your business growth can be a challenge from both sides. And I think that's what we see our biggest challenge from clients is they know they need to do it, they know they want to do it, but it can be a matter of where to start and how to start that implementation process.
I just want to say thank you to both of you for joining us as part of RAC 2024 and specifically this mobile robot session. I really enjoyed our conversation today with both of you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and the audience certainly will too. So I'm greatly appreciative and look forward to learning some more from everything from you guys. So I'm going to sign off here, but want to say thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. Really appreciate the invite.
So for our audience, as a reminder, again, a PDF copy of today's sessions along with other related content from both GreyOrange and Cypher Robotics can be found in the resources box on your console, along with the RAC Mobile Robot session page. Now, at this time, before you leave, if you could please fill out the feedback survey, that will help us develop better content moving forward, including RAC. And thank you again for attending this RAC 24 Mobile Robot session titled Rise of the Robots, Driving Safety and Adoption with Multi-Agent Orchestration, sponsored by GreyOrange and Cypher Robotics, along with the presiding sponsor of RAC 2024, Corber. The other sessions of RAC 2024, both before and after our mobile robots track, will be available on demand, and you'll receive more information in email after today's presentations. So on behalf of our guests, Akash Gupta of GreyOrange and Peter King of Cipher Robotics, this is Tim Culverhouse, Editorial Director of Robotics 24/7, saying thank you for joining us in this session and for all the sessions of RAC 2024, sponsored by Corber. Enjoy the rest of the day. We look forward to having you tune in for our next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.